should have never called me a fat ass Kelly Price.
I think that we assumed that as technology got better, catfishing would kind of go away. And the truth is, it's actually gotten worse.
America has been catfished.
Well, bok bok, bitch.
Catfish, a TV show, is a popular reality show on MTV that revolves around people who have formed online relationships and have never met in real life. So essentially, you got one person called the hopeful, who is obviously optimistic about the relationship, and then you have a lying, deceitful, manipulative person called the catfish. Which, by the way, if I was catfish, I would probably never touch grass again. After their first season, the term catfish became synonymous with the TV show. But how did Catfish begin before it was a hit? Also, how does one get on the show? Come take a seat and let's talk about Catfish. The documentary Catfish introduces Yaniv, or Neve Schulman, a 24-year-old photographer who becomes the film's main subject. The filmmakers Henry Jost and Ariel, or Rel Schulman, who later directed Paranormal Activity 3 and 4, explained that the film captures the friendly interaction between Neve and an 8-year-old girl named Abby, who initially contacted him. Their conversation started when one of Neve's photos of a couple dancing appeared in the New York Sun in August 2007. Abby sent Neve a painting of his photo, and after that they became long-distance pen pals, communicating through emails and photo messages with Abby's mother's consent. After several months of this communication, the filmmakers began documenting the journey, including phone calls from Abby's mother, Angela, her brother Ryan, and half-sister Megan. As Neve's relationship with the quote-unquote Facebook family, as Neve called them, progressed, he and Megan, the half-sister, developed a close relationship that quickly turned romantic. Megan and Neve went from saying hi to calling each other babe and having intimate conversations about what they'd do to each other if they were in the same room.
I can't wait to fill my fingers with your hair and turn your back to me, pulling you up against me and running my tongue all the way up your neck.
Not gonna lie, I definitely cringed during the scene because Neve is daddy catfish. I can't see him talking about a woman like that at all. Nonetheless, Neve's whole world shifts when he discovers that the cover songs Megan stated were her own were actually ripped off of YouTube. Imagine someone lying stating that these songs that they're giving you are their own when in actuality it's all a lie. Everything in their life is a lie. Subsequently, Neve confronts Megan, and her best response was, quote, "It's a cover song, it's supposed to sound similar." As if. After this, Neve starts questioning the truthfulness of the quote-unquote Facebook family he's been interacting with. Neve also starts investigating Angela's claim about her daughter having an art gallery, which also turns out to be false, since the gallery location was still up for sale. By now, they are certain that Angela and Megan's lives are completely based on lies. Complete shocker, right? Nonetheless, Neve, Henry, and Rel decide to continue the documentary, focusing on uncovering the true identities behind the Facebook family. They travel to Gladstone, Michigan to visit Megan's supposed barn, only to find it empty and out of a scene from a horror movie. They discover Neve's unopened mail and postcards in the mailbox as well. The next day, Rel and Neve confront Megan by surprising Angela, the mother, and Vincent, the father, at their home. Initially, no one came to the door and it seemed like no one was home, until a woman opened the door and introduced herself as Angela. Rel and Neve are hesitant, but Angela welcomes them warmly despite looking different from her Facebook picture. We later meet Vincent, who also doesn't match his Facebook picture. Shocker, right? This might be TMI, but during a conversation outside, Angela reveals that she's undergoing chemotherapy for uterine cancer. Neve gradually realizes that Angela has lied about various aspects of her life and her family's lives as well. Later, Angela drives Neve and Rel to meet Abby finally, where Neve discovers that Abby rarely paints and doesn't have a close relationship to Megan as previously portrayed. The following day, Neve receives a text from Megan and her quote-unquote brother Ryan, claiming Megan is entering rehab with his help and cannot meet Neve. However, Neve suspects Angela or Megan is lying once again. Eventually, Angela confesses that she has been posing as Megan on Facebook and using a different account and phone. Also, the craziest part of it all, she had 15 Facebook profiles and was sending paintings to Neve in Abby's name. Seriously? What possesses a person to do this? There's a touching moment, however, where Angela is painting a still of Neve and he asks her to speak to him in Megan's voice. Oof, that part got to me. I mean, to fall in love only to find out that the person doesn't really exist? That's truly awful. Throughout their friendship, Angela rekindled her passion for painting, which she had given up to take care of her stepchildren, who had severe mental disabilities. While Angela's husband, Vince, reveals that Angela falsely informed him that Neve was financially supporting her art. In the end, Vince tells Neve a metaphorical story about shipping live cod with catfish to keep the cod active, suggesting that Angela played a similar role in their lives.
They used to tank cod from Alaska all the way to China. They'd keep them in vats in the ship. By the time the codfish reached China, the flesh was mush and tasteless. So this guy came up with the idea that if you put these cods in these big vats, put some catfish in with them, and the catfish will keep the cod agile. And there are those people who are catfish in life, and they keep you on your toes. They keep you guessing, they keep you thinking, they keep you fresh. And I thank God for the catfish, because we'd be droll, boring, and dull if we didn't have somebody nipping at our fin.
And one thing I love about this quote is how ironic it is. I mean, it's actually not true, it's a myth. It originated in fiction writing of Henry Nevison in 1913, called Essays in Rebellion, and Charles Marriott's The Catfish. This is where the term catfish or catfishing was coined. Finally, we've reached the end of the film Catfish, where we see Neve receiving a painting from Angela. It actually has her name on it instead of Abby's, but Neve doesn't know how to feel about it. And honestly, I wouldn't either. The screen cuts to black and we see Angela didn't have cancer, Megan wasn't in rehab because she wasn't a real person, and the pictures of Megan were actually of a woman named Amy Gonzalez. Anyway, the Catfish documentary received a positive reception when it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2010. However, during a Q&A session that followed the premiere, an audience member suggested that the film was actually a faux documentary. Even the director, Morgan Spurlock of Super Size Me, commented, quote,
"That was the best fake documentary,"
end quote. During its release, the documentary's authenticity has been subject of speculation, particularly regarding copyright issues. Kyle Buchanan, a pop culture reporter at the time, expressed his concern, stating, quote, "I think the filmmakers knew from the start what they had on their hands, and they baited a mentally unwell woman for almost a year until their film needed a climax," end quote. Personally, I don't see it that way. How I see it is Neve was interacting with this child at the time, and I'm sure that was interesting. I mean, imagine an 8-year-old child making these beautiful paintings, and you're also filmmakers. I feel like that's a seize the opportunity kind of moment. Do I believe there were moments that were scripted? Of course. I mean, it's a film. Wouldn't you think so? You have to keep it entertaining, etc. But I don't necessarily believe that they baited this woman. Nonetheless, there is no evidence to suggest that the filmmakers had more information about Angela's family than they revealed. Especially a song called All Downhill From Here by Amy Cooney. It was released under the record label Spin Move Records and owned by Threshold Media. If the documentary were a faux documentary, using Amy's song without permission would constitute a copyright infringement, whereas an unscripted documentary could be protected under the Fair Use Act. I couldn't find any other information about the lawsuit besides an article from the Hollywood Reporter stating that the film had unrecouped funds of about $8.5 million. However, the film would never become profitable. After the success of the documentary Catfish, Neve began receiving various emails with catfish stories. Because of this, Neve decided to pursue the email leads and make a show out of it to help others. The Schulman brothers approached MTV with this idea in 2011, which became a reality in 2012. From there, Neve Schulman and Max Joseph, his film partner at the time, would investigate cases where a hopeful, as the show calls them, reaches out in hopes of meeting someone they believe could be catfishing them or lying to them. Up until season 7, episode 18, Max's final episode, most episodes start with Neve and Max hanging out before checking their email to see who they'll be helping that day. The show's formula was Neve and Max reading an email from the hopeful, then calling or video chatting with them for more information about their dilemma. Afterward, they meet the hopeful and dig into who the catfish may be. Neve and Max then end up hacking the Matrix or something, using reverse Google searching or looking up images, phone numbers, and social media accounts to get to the bottom of this catfish investigation. They will even investigate people close to the alleged catfish. That's scary. I mean, imagine being at work and receiving a call from Neve. Even if I was innocent, I'd still be scared and probably hang up. But anyway, once they have further information, they meet up with the hopeful again and share their findings with them and also any predictions Neve and Max have. In the first season, Neve would pretend to be the hopeful's friend to get information. Now he just states, "Hey, it's Neve from MTV's Catfish," which helps with credibility. The final step to this formula is to contact the catfish and finally set up a meeting date. Iconically, Neve is known for breaking into homes. For clarification, of course, he's not actually breaking into homes. They do have permission before filming. However, it is very funny to watch Neve walk onto this catfish's property like he's the landlord. It's absolutely hilarious. Lastly, the catfish will make an ominous appearance where their front door opens slowly and we, the audience, get to see if the romantic interest is a catfish or the real person. The supposed catfish then has to explain why they were catfishing, or if they aren't a catfish, why they never met up with the hopeful. Some individuals catfish because of past trauma and insecurities. Others don't catfish but instead lie about their relationship status and other aspects of their lives. There are also rare episodes where someone whose pictures are being used to catfish write into the show to confess, like the Andrea Russet episode or Nicole Riot. The show was an immediate success because Neve and Max's fun personalities and memorable reactions to the catfish. And because of this, Catfish the TV show is still rolling, except the only difference is that Max Joseph is no longer the co-host. In 2018, after filming 7 seasons of Catfish, Max decided to leave the show to focus on his film career. That same year, there were allegations of sexual misconduct against Neve made by an individual who appeared on the show in season 4. Because I'm not sure if the allegations are true or not, we'll just call her by her last name, Morgan. Morgan came out 3 years after her appearance on Catfish with a YouTube video that is still up, but the comments are disabled. During this time, MTV suspended filming for Catfish for about a month until the investigation was over. After completion, the allegations were found to be not credible. Because of this, Catfish producers removed Morgan's episode from season 4 on all platforms. Some believe the allegations and state that Neve made everyone think otherwise. Nonetheless, that's just speculation as we'll never know the full story. After Max Joseph's departure, it was time to find a new co-host. For the next 8 to 10 episodes, we saw various celebrity guest hosts such as Jane Carey, Ellie King, Kamie Crawford, and even Neve's wife, Laura Perlongo. Finally, for season 8 in 2020, they chose Kamie Crawford as she was a fan favorite for her empathy and realness. From then on, Kamie and Neve were the new Catfish duo, and Kamie was a perfect pick after Max. She tells it how it is even when the catfish isn't taking accountability. We love to see it. Kamie even had to face one of the rudest catfish to date.
Don't flip this on me because you did this.
Attitude.
I'm gonna talk to you. He the host. You the help. Wow.
This episode was frustrating to watch, and the fact that it was Kamie's first episode makes me respect her even more. As of this recording, Catfish is on its 9th season and still thriving. But how does Catfish the TV show work though? On MTV's casting page, I found Catfish the TV show inviting people to apply, stating, quote, "Neve and Kamie are searching for more online relationships, friendships, and business partners who have never met in person or seen each other on video chat. Are you tired of hearing excuses from your online lover about why you can't meet? Or are you keeping secrets from your internet crush that you must confess? If you think it's time to find out if your online relationship is true, we can help." End quote. From this, we can gather that the hopeful isn't the only one who can quote unquote write into the show. In a Vulture article in 2014, Eisen, a producer on Catfish at the time, stated, quote, "It's often the catfish we hear from first because they're looking to unburden themselves. It's not always the case, but it probably happens more than people realize." End quote. I thought that was pretty interesting when I first heard that, especially when on the show Catfish, we see that the hopeful is the one writing in. Either way, when the catfish apply for the show, producers reach out to them and the hopeful to ensure that the waivers are signed prior to filming. In the documentary Catfish, Angela and her family were gently ambushed, I'd say, since Rel was holding a small camcorder. Producers decided against that for Catfish, the TV show, as they didn't want to force individuals to show up. Since the producers are casting the catfish and the hopeful, Neve and Max, later Kamie, are practically left in the dark. The reverse image searching and looking up phone numbers is authentic and in the moment for Neve and Kamie. To avoid getting catfished themselves though, producers research the information to see if the story checks out. Overall, it sounds like Neve and Kamie's reactions are more real than other reality shows. Or maybe that's what they want us to believe. From a one-time documentary to a decade-long TV show, Catfish has proven to be an intriguing concept. Although one could think, how does this still happen? We sometimes forget how blinded people can be by love, just like Nev was in his documentary. Nev was able to take a negative situation and create something positive where he could help others and also show support for what he and the show believe in. However, I will say that while Catfish does have a large audience, including myself, the show also has lots of people who disagree with it and find it exploitative even if everyone signs a waiver. So if you've watched Catfish the TV show, what do you think about it? Do you love it or hate it? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you like this video, you may like my last video about who I think Michael Jackson's Dirty Diana is about. Until next time.